why don't we stumble or run into segment one? Let's bring in Coach David Gettis to the C3 Panthers podcast. Hey, Coach.
How you guys doing?
Excellent, man. Welcome to the show, man. Again, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and we just wanted to, thank you for your time. Just tell us a little bit about where you're at right now.
Yeah, so I'm in Syracuse, New York. So part of the coaching staff here with the Orangemen, ACC. So I heard we had one fan. So we're just getting through with spring ball right now. Got about a week and a half left, and onwards and upwards to start the 23-24 season.
Wonderful stuff. You're quality control coach for the wide receivers, and you've been now in coaching since I read since like 2015.
Like 2016, 2015. So yeah, I went back to school, finished, got my degree, started grad school, and then got into that line of work essentially. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
That's great stuff. You were drafted in 2010, and then you go to the Carolina Panthers, and it's like it probably was. Let me ask you this: it must have been a difficult experience being a rookie on that team. Is that because that was, I think it was 6 games before you got to win, 5 or 6 games for the win, and then felt like the coaches, the writing was on the wall that it was time for a new, kind of a different direction, or at least it got that way at some point. How was it becoming a rookie?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was difficult for me. I would say it was a new experience. So for me personally, the journey of learning how to win in the NFL, being a part of it and having a seat at the table, if you will, it was something that I really liked because I was able to actually partake in, helping a team win games and trying my best and going out there. And I wasn't just a fan. I wasn't just watching. I was actually out there on the field doing it. So, yeah, some of those results that we had, I mean, if you remember, it's a long time ago, so a lot of these fans probably don't remember that. But a lot of those games came down to the wire. I mean, and we're losing
Fighting.
games at the very end. And, finally, when we got that first win, it felt so great because, you had to work really hard to get it. And that's what makes this league, in my opinion, unlike other ones, because, I mean, every team that goes out there on Sunday has a chance to win. I don't necessarily think you can say that about, other professional leagues where, on any given day, any given game day, any given team, the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league. It doesn't matter. It's all about matchups. It's all about, how prepared you are that week for that opponent. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing for me, and then of course it was my first year, so everything was it was new, and it was definitely a learning experience that I'll always remember.
Well, when you talk about contributing to the first win, that was your best game of your career, the best game a receiver had in that season. If I remember right, you were 9 for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns against the San Francisco 49ers.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Not a bad game.
Not a bad game at all, for sure. That was probably my biggest game ever on any level, high school or Pop Warner even.
Right.
So and for it to be a win, that's probably the biggest thing because that's what it's all about, and getting to celebrate that with your teammates. So yeah, that's the goal, man. Like everyone wants to go in and help, and I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but I know for sure me. My whole thought process was I just want to go and I want to help the team as any way I can, whether that was, run vertically and get other people open or run block or whatever it was, that's what I wanted to do. And I was able to do that and, have some success and put some stats in the career, stat books. But, overall, man, it's all about getting those wins in the win column. So anytime you get a chance to do that.
You were brand new, I mean, to the pro game that season, and you're watching a team that's, not getting the results. I'm sure you guys are going out there. I mean, we know you guys are going out there fighting hard, but not getting the results that are, people want. And ultimately, this leads to Carolina Panthers bringing in Ron Rivera and securing the #1 pick with Cam Newton. How was it going through like a regime change as a player, and was there some anxiety around that, some nervousness, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges you face going forward after that?
Right. Well, yeah, for sure. There's some anxiety that goes into it because you really just came down to getting comfortable with the coaches that gave you the first opportunity. They drafted you. They put you on the field. They put you in a situation where you can prove yourself. And now it all comes full circle and you have to do it all over again. Now, luckily for me, it was only 1 year removed. So at the end of the day, it wasn't really that too far-fetched for me to get back into that mode and, just go out there and give it my best and understand that there's a new coaching staff. There's a new receiver coach. There's a new everything, new offensive coordinator, new system, new playbook, and all these things that go into it. And you have to learn all these new things. And you're also trying to impress with every single thing you do.
Yeah.
You're trying to show these guys that you're fully capable of going out there on the field and contributing and doing your job. So
they have to get to know you. You're hoping that they kind of fall in love with you in a certain way.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And at the end of the day, sometimes I don't think we all realize this. They gotta like you. Like, just because you can be really good. There's some really, really talented players that play on Sundays or that are on teams that don't play. And that's because they're not likable guys. And the coaches don't like you. They're human beings. They have egos too. And sometimes they'll find a way not to play you, or they'll, do things to make you kind of sabotage yourself and demand a trade maybe and get out of there. And they're happy because they don't want you there in the first place. Like, so, yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's a huge component to it. Like just being likable and being a genuine good person. And these are grown men, but these are men. These are just like you are. So, having those relationships there, but then being able to do your job, I think is obviously the most important thing. So, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it does. It kind of brings you to the idea. I mean, when you're their guy, what I'm saying is with that, and I'm kind of wondering, I think of this as kind of, in some ways, your play style, I felt like as Terrace Marshall Jr. is now that guy for the Carolina Panthers,
sure.
Is that how does he fit up with the previous regime? You saw Matt Rule when he came to Carolina kind of just cast off trying a slow exodus of players that weren't his, and he brings in and sticks and holds on to players too that become his, right? So that relationship component is a big part of it. Greg, I'm gonna give you the mic. This is kind of a fun question. Or for me, it's fun. I go on this radio show, and sometimes we do this bit on Fridays where it's like, who's a player you would want to be your roommate? Who is a player that you would want to have get in a fight? Well, like have your back when you get in a fight. I always said this is that I think that the hardest person to live with would probably be Steve Smith. Like I would kind of live in a little terror, like, who ate my cheese nips? Who ate my cheese nips? Or who drank the milk? How was Steve Smith that year where everything was, boy, he could not have been happy in 2010.
He wasn't, but that's funny because he was my roommate on the road.
You didn't eat his cheese nips, did you?
And the funny thing is, he's a vet. He's a future Hall of Famer. He doesn't have to have a roommate, but he let me become his roommate, and we would talk. And I mean, he didn't have to do any of this, but he would talk to me about, playing on Sundays and what my mindset should be and the approach throughout the week. And as a coach now, some of those conversations we had on Saturday nights in the hotel, like before the games, or some of the things that I'll remember and I'll hold dear, some like the most. Like we talk about the experience, the NFL experience, and even though mine was short and things happened, injuries happened, and I wasn't able to fulfill it to the fullest. But some of those moments were some of the greatest I've ever had because I got to sit there and have intimate conversations with a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the GOAT.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Triple Crown, the whole deal.
And he's that guy. He's that dude. He talk about who's him. He's him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so So you're talking about somebody who you wouldn't. He was somebody that I would. Like, absolutely. And then the fighting one, obviously, he's number one. Like,
totally. You definitely. There's a lot of people been on the wrong side of that. All right, Greg, mic's yours.
Yeah, man. Coach Geddes, what's up, man? Greg,
going
I just wanted to say it's great to have you on, and it's great to talk to you. And I just wanted to ask you, we're talking about a lot of personal level things here as far as NFL players go. I want to know what the draft process is for a player coming out of college, preparing for the draft, expectations, the way things fall. Like, how vulnerable are you in that point? Like when you go to the combine, when you do all these things, like what is your, like, where's your mindset? Like this is kind of a make or break moment for you up to this point in your career and your life.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the stress is definitely at a high level, for sure. So if you're talking particularly with the combine, I mean, oh my gosh, like soon as you get there, as soon as you land in Indy, I mean, you're basically being my agent. The way he kind of explained it to me is like literally everything that you do is going to get judged throughout the process. You know, how you eat your food, how you order, like when you go out and you're having these meetings. They're seeing how, like, okay, well, how does he interact with people? You know, when he orders food, what is he? Is he strong enough? Does he voice his opinion strong enough to where people know exactly what he wants? Is he a good communicator? Like every little thing they're honing in on, and they're using that to separate you from the next person. You know what I'm saying? On top of all the stuff the physical stuff, you know, as far as the testing and then the stuff that goes with each position group and things like that. But yeah, I mean, 100% throughout the whole process, every single meeting, every single phone call, every single personal workout, every single thing that you do throughout that whole process, the bowl games that you do, like the Senior Bowl and all that stuff like that, it's literally someone judging you to see if you're good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're pretty vulnerable at that
obviously
point.
That's pressure. I mean, can you imagine something like that? You know, so I mean, we've all been on job interviews, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a job interview that it fixates on so many different levels of who you are, your personality, and then to go along with your skill level and where you're at mentally and your ability to do a job, and that's play on football on Sundays.
I've heard stories of them like planting people in the elevator. And it's like, you know, they're watching you when you're not. Like, it's
right.
Like, oh.
I wouldn't put it past them because there's a lot of money that are going into you making the right decision. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're putting a lot of your fan base's, you know, hopes and dreams on deciding who's going to be able to, you know, go out there and perform for you. So I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that.
Well, look, you know, I'm a vet, so I'd gone through basic training, and I honestly, I'm kind of trying to compare it to that, to be honest with you, but I'm looking at it in the mindset of in basic training, they're looking at the same kind of way people they can separate from others, they're going to invest thousands of dollars into. Whereas in your mind, they're investing millions of dollars into. Sure. So I can only imagine how much more ratcheted up that is and how intense that is.
Yeah.
But what about the draft as well? How much anxiety does that bring to you? Like draft.
Yeah,
days?
and when did you know you were getting drafted by Carolina?
Yes.
Okay, so my draft experience, you know, I was a 6th rounder, so you know, I wasn't the guy I was getting the.
You guys matter too.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't going out on day one. You know, I watched the draft day one, and then I did not watch the draft at all. Like, so day 2, day 3, I didn't watch the draft. So I remember I remember I was out with my dad and my sister, and we were. I think we went to the movies or something like that. I just came home from training. I got done. I wanted to relax. I didn't want to stress about any of that stuff. So we're at the movies, and I remember getting a phone call and it's a telephone number that I didn't recognize. So obviously I picked it up because I understood, you know, what's going on, and it was the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills called me, and the coach was like, "Hey, we're about to draft you. Just letting you know. Really excited about the opportunity. So just let you know when this pick comes up, you're going to be a Buffalo Bill." And I'm like, "All right, cool. This is awesome." So throughout that whole, you know, I told my dad, I'm like, "All right, cool. I guess, you know, Buffalo, get ready for the snow and, you know, whatever. Right. And then the pick before was Carolina, and Carolina picks me. So
wow. Oh,
yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah.
I had 0 meetings, 0 conversations, didn't work out for anyone in Carolina, never talked to anyone in Carolina, knew nothing about, you know, the organization other than being a fan of Steve Smith because he's from LA and I'm from LA. So, but yeah, like literally it just happened just like that. And then like John Fox called, and then that was it, you know, and then, all right, here we go. Like started talking about coming out to Charlotte now.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's a great story, man.
Yeah.
So, David, again, my name's Cody. But thanks you so much for having you on the show tonight, man. This has been some really insightful stuff. Listen, if you've been looking at the comments, man, you know that there is a lot of discussion around this number 1 overall pick for the Panthers, man. This is such an exciting time for us. There's a buzz amongst the fandom that we haven't felt in such a long time. I mean, literally since Cam Newton was here playing quarterback for us.
Absolutely.
So, instead of directly asking who you like more, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, which, by the way, you're more than welcome to answer if you'd like to. But my question more specifically is, to you as a wide receiver, what are some traits that you're looking for in a young quarterback that's going to be throwing you the football? What are some of the traits and abilities and skill set that you think that the Carolina Panthers should be prioritizing right now as they do look for their signal caller of the future?
Right. Well, I think the number one thing is accuracy for sure. The number one thing is accuracy, and then you want to look at strength, being able to, can he touch? How far out can he touch with his arm? So accuracy and strength or arm strength are the two biggest things in my opinion that you're looking for. And and when it comes to the NFL, like guys like Josh Allen, who had that arm strength initially,
right,
but then the accuracy came afterwards. Now he is up there. We put him in the top 3 conversation of NFL quarterbacks. So going forward, it's got to be a guy that can do that because, as far as the accuracy goes, the coverage that you're going to be facing in the NFL compared to college, where wide open could be, 3 to 4 yards open. Now you're going up against some really good corners. That wide open now is 2 yards to even a yard and a half. And you still got to be able to fit that ball in between sometimes tight windows where linebackers and safeties are. And you got to put it in there sometimes before a corner can even turn his head and look. So I think that's probably one of the most important things, 2 of the most important things as far as being able to be a successful quarterback and what you're looking for in a quarterback from the receiver's perspective.
Okay. CK, jump in there, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question that we asked Jonathan Stewart. The context is going to be a little different because he was on in the middle of the season, right when Steve Wilkes was taking over, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And at that time, Steve Smith had talked about on his podcast about there was somebody in the Panthers organization that had asked for a trade. So my question was, or that had asked him about requesting a trade, I should state.
Okay.
And so I asked Jonathan Stewart, having gone through exactly what you went through in 2010, when you see the trajectory of the team going in that direction, is there any part of you that looks at that as I'm going to ask to go to another team? Or is it I want to be here and help build it back up? Like, what is the thought process going through your mind? I know you don't have a lot of leverage as a rookie in that year, but I mean, is there any part of your brain that goes, let's get out of Carolina, this is a sinking ship, or is there really just a, we need to stay and fight and build this up the right way?
Yeah, I was all about, you believed in me, so I'm gonna do everything I can for you. And that was my thought process. And I bought in. So you brought me into your team, you brought me into your organization, you gave me a chance. And it doesn't matter how rough it is or how rough we're going. At the end of the day, I'm going to do everything I can to get us to where we want to go. And I think that's really pretty much when you're building a team, you want to build a team with majority of the guys believing in that more so than I'm going out here and I want to do the best for myself. And if that includes me not being a part of this team, then so be it. So I think I was fortunate. I don't think I'm naive to say that I was a part of a team that I genuinely believe that everyone wanted to be a part of turning it around. And, even through, the rough years, that next year when Cam came and kind of rejuvenated that he rejuvenated that team and brought a certain energy that he had that I don't think the league has ever seen. When he came, do you remember the buzz that was around the league when Cam came?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, but I remember that day. The minute he came onto the team, first team meeting, like you just felt like this energy, like, oh yeah, we have a chance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we have a legit chance to turn the table.
Tell him the story, Cody, real quick.
Oh, dude, Tony came. So I live right by South Mint Street. I live so close to Bank of America Stadium. And Tony came to my house. He's getting ready to go to the game. And I asked Tony, who do you think's going to win? and we both pretty much felt the same way. Because we have Cam Newton, we know we have a chance. And that's how you always felt with Super Cam, man. He was going to put his body, his everything on the line to do everything he could to get the Panthers a W on that day. And man, he's my reason for being a Panthers fan. I love that dude.
How big was his? Like you said, you felt the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Was he just a big personality walking into that, and not like in
distraction?
Not like that, but like it almost feels like
he was never a distraction. He was never a distraction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, like,
but it just seems like he's like a guy that it's like you command it's like we can't help but go, oh God, it's Ace Boogie, baby. Like it just there's a presence to him. I feel like.
Okay, so this is how I like to explain it, right? So we have like. On one spectrum, from people outside looking in, they look at Cam Newton, they think cocky, right? And I hate that word, especially when it comes to relating with Cam, right? When I look at him, I say swagger. Now, what's the difference between swagger and cockiness? Swagger is earned. Swagger is earned by you putting in the work, and then you get confidence with the fact that you put in so much work, and then that precedes that you are walking around with an aura because you're so confident that you can get the job done at any point at any time, right? Okay. So the difference between me, saying someone who's just out there and they're cocky, they're like some first-round pick guy who thinks the world is his, and I'm making whatever, and I'm here, and this is the world. The NFL belongs to me. Compared to a guy like him, who from day one, all he did was work, grind, film room. We all saw the behind-the-scenes stuff with Luke Kuechly and him watching film. That was him from day one, like rookie Cam Newton. Like that's literally day one. What he did with his body, how he kept in shape, like all the stuff that he did, even in the off season, he wasn't a guy like he would go out, but he would just like go out just to be with guys. But he would never like he wasn't drinking, he wasn't smoking, he wasn't doing anything like that. Like he was a guy who genuinely everything he did was about
football.
being the best quarterback he can possibly be and helping the team win. So
there's so many players that we've talked to on this show, but we've been doing this, like you said, we watched the Carolina Panthers, the discussion out there with like a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
And I challenge anybody to find one player that's played with Cam Newton that's had anything negative to say about him. Really, it's like I mean, that is just another story of consistency about him, and that's just it's awesome to hear about that presence. And like you said, swagger, that's confidence. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? And you want your quarterback to be confident. You don't want him to not pull the trigger. We've seen players, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but ones that don't want to throw the ball past the 5 yards. There is a kind of a fear. You don't want to live in fear, and Cam never has. I wonder why. CK, you had a follow-up with a question.
Yeah. It's just with regard to the question about Steve Smith believing or saying that somebody was about to ask for a trade or asked him about their opinion, there's a lot of speculation that was DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brings me to the question about DJ Moore. I don't know how we have a former wide receiver, and we haven't even talked about the fact that DJ Moore was traded. And so when you look at the moves the Panthers have made, adding Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, do you find the loss of DJ Moore kind of a balancing act with what we've done, or do you feel like we're still somewhat in the negative losing a guy like DJ Moore?
Well, I mean this wholeheartedly. Before I knew I was coming on this show and non-biased, Adam Thielen is one of my favorite receivers in the NFL. And
nice.
It's because he's one of my everyone has their top 10, but I put him out just outside of my top 10. But really, like he's literally one of the guys that I show the young receivers that we have here at Syracuse. I try to show him like his tape because you don't necessarily have to be a 4-4 guy in order to have success in the NFL. You know, in my opinion, the NFL, you're either a freak athlete, right, or you're either a technician. You got to fit in one of those realms. You got to be a freak athlete or you're a technician. And you're really good if you're both, right?
Right.
So he's definitely a technician at what he does. And he finds a way to consistently create separation, which is the number one thing for a receiver, in my opinion, is your ability to create separation and get open and catch the ball. And his ability to do that is up there, and he's earned that, and he's made life easy for Stephon Diggs in Minnesota and for young Jefferson in Minnesota, because you can't necessarily double team one of those receivers when you have Adam Thielen on the other side, right? So to answer your question, bring in Adam Thielen and DJ Shark, who's hungry to kind of get back to where he was when he was with Jacksonville.
Net positive.
Ago, right?
Yeah.
Was that 2 seasons ago?
Yeah.
When he kind of went off for 1,000 plus, I think. I love DJ Moore's game, but that's two. You got 2 for 1. Like you're
and
the
number
one
one draft
quarterback.
Pick,
Yeah.
right? So
and now you get to give your you have an opportunity to give your number 1 quarterback, whoever it may be. And I know we're going to discuss some of that stuff later, but whoever you guys decide to choose, you're giving them a veteran receiver to throw to, not like the guy who's figuring it out. He understands the game.
Yeah, and to just say that, like, the poetic aspect of this, and it's so bittersweet because we've been waiting to find a quarterback to get DJ Moore the ball, and it's DJ Moore that's going to allow us to get that quarterback. It's just
without DJ Moore.
The ball.
Irony.
So it's irony, but it's bittersweet, and it's just this wild circle. I'm sure he's going to have wild success up there with Justin Fields. I hope Fields can take it to the next level, but I appreciate you answering the question. I'll let Cody take it from here.
Yeah, David. So listen, with this number 1 overall pick, Panther Nation is torn down the center. We are a Panther Nation divided right now, man, because Bryce Young and CJ Stroud is a never-ending debate amongst Carolina Panther fans. And there's still so long to the draft. We have been having this ever since the Panthers traded up to number 1. It feels like it's never going to end. We would be remiss if we didn't ask you if you had an opinion on who you think the Panthers, well, 1, who you think they should draft, and number 2, do you have any inclination on who you think they actually will draft come April 27th?
Right. I mean, it's just so tough. The only thing different, if you look at their stats and what they've done in college, and what they bring to the table with this pre-draft process, I mean, the only difference is one's taller than the other one. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, like, you look at their stats, I mean, they're both throwing the ball high 60%. They've both thrown for over 8,000 yards in their careers, 80-plus touchdowns, and I think they both threw like 12 interceptions in their entire career. So, I mean, look at the stats are like right there. Like, so it's Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Like, which one do you prefer? Like, I don't know. Usually you will have something like, all right, well, this guy, he's really athletic and he uses his legs more. And this guy is really good with his arm and he's not athletic. I mean, they both are, comparable to the T. One's just taller than the other one. So it's one of those random occurrences where I feel like you can't go wrong with either one. Like,
right.
Well, like
there's a third subset of Panther fans that are just like, dude, I'm happy with whoever it is. Just get it over with already.
Yeah.
Let us know who the actual quarterback is. But when it comes to Bryce Young, my question though is, I feel like people necessarily aren't too scared about the height. It's more so him being around 190 pounds. And there's this fear that, look, he's going to be the smallest quarterback in the NFL the moment that he's drafted. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like any team is right for having some kind of hesitancy about whether or not his body and frame is going to be able to withstand an NFL schedule?
Right. So the way I look at it, right, he played in the SEC, right?
Sure did. Yep. Alabama.
They got a lot of freaks. We talk about freaks and technicians. They got a lot of freaks running around the SEC.
Yep.
And he survived the SEC. I don't remember him having too many injury problems. The one I do remember, he had like a shoulder, right? Like, and it was
And he didn't even take a hit. He was going out of bounds and landed on his elbow.
It was a freak
wrong.
accident, right? Play the game of football. It's all about collisions and it's a freak accidents. Freak accidents happen. So with that being said, not only did he succeed, not only did he survive, but he thrived in the SEC with his size and his weight. I get the NFL is a different level, and now you're playing the best against the best against the best on a weekly basis. But he's physically shown that he's more than capable of producing at a high level against bigger guys, to say the least, right? So I don't necessarily look at it like as a problem. People bashed Drew Brees for being, 6'1", and he's shorter than 6'3" or 6'4". He's shorter than prototype. What we're used to. We're used to the guys looking like this, and this, and he doesn't look like this. He's different, and all he did was become a Hall of Famer, right? Mm-hmm. We looked at guys like Russell Wilson and all these people that are. I mean, Cam Newton. People looked at him and said he's not a prototype quarterback, and he doesn't have the mechanics and all these things like that. And all he went out there is lead a team to a Super Bowl, win an MVP, and consistently prove doubters wrong. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to look at what they're able to do and what they've done. And he's proven over time and time again that he can last in the league where there are guys that are going to play. He's playing against NFL talent every single game he plays. There's guys that are getting drafted in the first round of this draft. You know what I'm saying? So he's fine, in my opinion.
I think the concern, though, I don't know if it's you just have to talk about it. Like, that's what I tell people is me saying that we need to talk about how his size is going to translate to the NFL game shouldn't be necessarily received as a negative. But the Bryce Young people, they get so defensive. They get really defensive about this. And people are now on the internet is going, how tall are you? Because then it's like, are you short? I'm 5'9" and 3/4. So I sympathize with the man. I'm just saying this at some point. The hit, it's not about the hit that you see coming. It's the one that we're going to need you to step up in the pocket and make a throw one day where nobody wants to see the outcome afterwards.
Right.
And I'm really kind of more concerned that he's just going to end up like in the third row of the stands.
Right.
Well, but he's not, like you said, he's survived to this point so far. But his frame definitely isn't one that's going to get bigger, though. Mm-hmm. He is, it's not, at least that's what the scouting reporters say. It is like it's not like he's got a man body to still grow into. It's that he's always going to be an undersized guy in this league. What about, Stroud, is the processing level. This is what everybody tells us about Young. It's his processing is like unheard of. Like you get Nick Saban going out there saying, I've never worked with a quarterback that reads defenses like this. He's looking at tape before the coaches are. And people are saying he throws there. They're convinced he throws the ball to a spot. He doesn't even see what's going on and things like this. Mm-hmm. Is the drop off though for Stroud that far behind him on that? And I just don't feel like it is. I feel like he's out there looking to his second and third reads. I don't know. Who would you pick?
Oh, don't do that to me.
Okay, well, you don't got to answer it. You don't got to answer it.
I got a question I can actually add on to that right there to maybe to give my opinion on what I would pick. And I wanted to ask you as a player, especially. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're talking about this with CJ Young, or CJ Young, Bryce Young, and Stroud. And we talk about how he's playing against pro level type players. So I wanted to ask you on the backside the difference between you and the Baylor, right?
Yes.
The difference between the college level and the pro level,
right?
Like was it what you expected? And then I wanted to also talk about how while we say he's playing against the best players, every team he's playing against is not NFL level talent, mm-hmm. but he is every game playing with the best in the league type talent as far as offensive linemen, defense, wide receivers, whereas he's not going to get that in the NFL, which bothers me. We talk about Drew Brees. We talk about players like Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, which are fantastic players, but I feel like they're kind of anomalies when it comes to short players, because I can look at Bryce Young's best year and compare it to Baker Mayfield's best year, and they're almost identical. And Baker Mayfield's 2 inches shorter and we saw what happened with him. That's my only concern. I'm not saying Bryce Young's going to be bad, but like those are things I look into with this. So I feel like I can teach CJ Stroud to maybe be more cerebral, smarter in the game. I can't make Bryce Young get taller. That's my only concern with it.
And you're entitled to that. And you're you're the GM of whatever team, and that's how you feel, and you can base your pick off of that. And this is the one draft, in my opinion, where if you decided to make your decision off of that, you wouldn't be wrong. Like
right.
You know, I feel like if you're in the top two, like you're in the top two, if you're walking away feeling really good about yourself. Like you're walking away like, I got something to work. I literally have something to work with. I have something to build my franchise around.
You won't answer the who you would pick, but where would we go wrong?
The guy that eats banana peels.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's not. Yeah.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that.
That's a red flag. If you eat the banana peel, that's a red flag.
Right.
Oh, and I heard about that. No, I mean, hey, to each his own. I personally wouldn't do that, but yeah, as far as like picking inside the top two, yeah, I wouldn't.
So it's Young.
It's either CJ or Bryce, in my opinion.
Okay.
Either one of them is a winner.
Okay. There's two people. There's only two people that exist in that draft as far as
I can behind you there.
Well, can I ask you about the first part of that question then, as far as from the college level to the pro level?
Yeah.
What you were expecting and what you actually got. Was it what you expected? Was it way faster than you thought it was going to be? Like, what's the difference between the two levels?
100%. It's all about speed. And I'm a fast guy, so I'm used to, like, you know, I played in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is a fast league, fast conference.
4-4-2, right?
And at Baylor, we were one of the faster teams every Saturday we lined up. So going into the league, I was always kind of like, I always anticipated being able to go out there and like, hey, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna run by people whenever I want to, and that's my thing. That's why I'm here. And I remember distinctly, like, my first practice. I remember this like to this day. Like, my first practice, as a rookie, barely get reps. So, you know, I remember that first time I got reps, and I got a rep with the ones. And I was very excited, and I was like, all right, cool, here we go. So I got in there, and they told me to run a simple seam go route from the slot receiver position. So, all right, cool, this is going to be open. So I saw it was cover two. So cover two, safety's widen. The whole middle of the field is wide open. I'm like, I'm about to score a touchdown on my first rep in my first practice. This is it. This isn't happening. This isn't life.
To the moon, baby.
Oh my gosh. So pre-snap, I see it. I see it. I know, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to score. Lo and behold, John Beeson. I don't know if John Beeson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's the Tampa 2 Mike. And his responsibility is to make sure he carries anybody going up the middle of the field. He's running stride for stride with me. And I'm looking at him like, how are you doing this? Like, I just remember like running and like, how are you still here? Like, and the quarterback ended up, you know, I'm a rookie. He's not going to throw the ball to me. Like, he didn't throw the ball to me, whoever it was. I forgot the quarterback was at the time. And I just remember like coming back to the huddle, like, oh my God, like this is the league. We have middle linebackers that can run stride for stride with me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, that just comes with understanding, like, the league, it'll never be as physical from like, guys will never be as big and as strong, in my opinion, than they are in college. Because when you get to the NFL, sometimes you see guys like they trim down because they understand that they have to be able to run fast. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be able to be fast. It's all about speed. If you can't run in the NFL, you're no good to your team. Like the old days of being the big guy that could just really hit, you can hit everything in a phone book, them days are gone. Like, that's not what the league is about. It's all about being able to run sideline to sideline. You know what I'm saying? And then if you can obviously be physical and be violent at the same time, Luke Kuechly, then you'll be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Yeah.
The name of the game is speed. You got to be able to run. So that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, from college to the NFL, is the speed of the game.
David, did you have a welcome So, I mean, you mentioned that in practice, and that's a great story. Did you have a welcome to the NFL moment that happened during the game where it was like, whoa, man, like you'll just never forget for the rest of your life a certain play? I mean, it could be good or bad, like just a certain play that you'll never forget.
Well, I'll give you something better. I'll give you something better. It's a funny one, right? So, my rookie year, the first game we played the Giants, and I didn't even dress. I was on the sideline. So then the second game, I ended up starting. So I started and we played Tampa Bay. So this is the Tampa Bay team. They have Rondé Barber and they have Aqib Talib, I think, and they have some other good guys. So I remember I'm getting ready for the pregame stuff, and I'm going up there warming up. And Rondé Barber comes up to me and he says, I hear you're going to start this game. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then he literally shakes my hand and says, you take care of me, I take care of you. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? He's like, when the ball's in the air and it's me and you, I'm coming for your head. Just letting you know that right now. But if the ball's going away from us, there's no need to kill each other. We're good. So I'm like,
that's awesome.
Okay,
a little business decision there.
But that's how things happen. Like, people don't understand that. This is people's careers we're talking about, and people want to be healthy. And the last thing you want is, to get hurt when you don't need to. When a play doesn't involve you. So I remember, I remember him pre-game coming up to me and just talking to me like, yo, like, don't worry, I'll take care of you and we'll play hard. And we did. We had, whenever I had a couple catches that game, and we battled, but then there's times when there's a run play going on over there and he's just looking at me like, you good? And I'm like, sure, I'm good. Take it easy on me. Like, all right, cool.
You know what? That's a savvy vet move there, because he knows that you're a rookie. And it's your first start, and he's like, this guy's going to be so hungry. He's probably going to run me over, something like here. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Speaking of injury, this was a knee injury, ACL, your second year. Mm-hmm. Was it in training camp?
It was. Yeah.
And then it took all the way. I was reading, went back. Like I said, I was in the archives today looking at some of this stuff. It was all the way until November of 2012 before you came off the PUP list. How was it? Can you talk a little bit about the challenge of being injured, particularly when a team is, with a new quarterback? Are you part of I've heard kind of horror stories where you're like almost feel like an outsider at times. Like how was it dealing with that knee in 2011 after such a really kind of an exciting start? You were the buzz of talk when it came to the receivers. We had been struggling to find anybody. They had drafted Brandon LaFell the same year that you were drafted, I believe. And it was just like, but you're the one that came out and we were excited. Like, we were like, we got the diamond in the rough. And then you faced that challenge. How was that experience your second year?
Well, I mean, no one wants to deal with, that kind of thing. And kind of having my whole dream was, to make it into NFL, and then being able to play, alongside one of your heroes in Steve Smith. It was a dream come true, right? So going into that second year, we had a new coach, we had a new offensive coordinator,
Rod Chazinski.
Yep, you remember? And they had they're running this West Coast offense, and they're explosive, and they want to run. We just came from an offense where we ran the ball damn near every other play, and then Chud's like, no, we're going to air this thing out. We're going to throw it every play. And
you wanted to be in that offense too.
My God! So like the first couple of weeks of training camp, I'm going crazy. Like, they're throwing deep balls left and right, just going crazy. So I'm like, this offense is going to be unbelievable. I'm about to have an amazing year. And then I had a hamstring injury, and I came back from the hamstring injury a little too soon. And because of that, I got the knee injury. And that was unfortunate. So the combination of the two, and because of that, it never really healed. And unfortunately, that's my story. But as far as like where that put me mentally and where that kind of put my place on the team, I think everyone's situation is a little different, because I feel people understand who you are and what you bring, and they understand like what your intentions are, right? So if you're a player that you didn't really care before and you get hurt, then guess what? No one's really going to care about you or in whatever situation you're going through at that moment. But if you're a guy that, I mean, like you're a team player and you genuinely care about other people, then that's the one where it hurts. It hurts everyone when you're hurt. And I just remember like the guys like consistently coming through and checking in on me on my rehab process. And, you know, I still had great relationships with a lot of the guys. And, you know, during that time where I would rehab, I would still be around the team, obviously, all the time. But it sucked because like that was like when Cam started becoming Cam Newton, and you see all your friends, you know, making the plays, and you're like, I'm watching it from the stands, and it kind of killed me from that perspective because I didn't feel like I was a part of a team. I felt like I was a fan, and I was, but I felt like a fan, and you know that's the only part that sucked for me and from my perspective. But man, like being able to see that stuff up close and then seeing the buildup and seeing how he prepared to get to that moment on Sunday, which we all saw, was amazing. And that's the kind of stuff that I can instill into the guys that I coach now, is because I was able to see greatness up close from multiple players, from Steve Smith and from Cam Newton, from the quarterback's position and from the receiver's position. I was able to see that up close, and I was able to you know, have a brief moment of being able to contribute, and I can add all that stuff into now. That's all experiences that I can add and give to other people now. But other than that, man, it was something that you just deal with it and you move on.
I know that people did care about you, and I got proof of it today because there are two reporters. One is named Darren Gant. He used to work for, he was with, which paper was he then with? Now he works for the team. He works for Carolina now.
Okay.
And there's this other reporter by the name of Jonathan Jones, who is really big for CBS now. Now he's on TV and all of this. I've interacted with these people for over a decade since we've been doing this podcast, but you know, kind of independent media or podcasts for a long time ago were a little bit more, they lack the credibility and that they have now. So these guys do this for a living. They're very professional. They don't often recognize, it's not like they're mean to us or anything, you know what I'm saying? But it's like they're kind of on a different plane.
Okay.
And I put out the tweet, said David Gettis coming on the show, and I see Darren Gant just at Jonathan Jones on it. And it's like I guarantee you that Darren Gant's in watch lurking right now, because I mean these were guys that were covering you then. They were for the local paper, and this was like the one bright spot where, man, that 2010 season. Now you mentioned the hamstring, because this is what I was reading about the knee injury, but I do remember the hammies being an issue. Didn't you were you in Tampa Bay at any time?
Yeah. So
okay, and I felt like that was a hamstrings there.
Get released from Carolina. I had a short stint in Tampa Bay, and then that's when I just realized that in a short stint in Washington as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but that was just the nature of what happened.
How much did you play? How much did you play with RG3 at Baylor?
At Baylor, so 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
My junior and senior year were his freshman and sophomore year.
And your senior year was your best year in college, right?
At Baylor, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
by far, yeah. So, awesome. Well, go
ahead. Cody, you want to go take the next one real quick and segue it to the wide receivers or whatever you want to talk about? I don't want to hog the mic.
Ooh, wide receivers.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of going back to the draft here. Okay. You know, everybody. I have my draft crush in this year's draft at wide receiver is Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I think Zay is incredible, but there's a big time cornerback coming out of Syracuse this year.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak about him a little bit and tell us a little bit about him and tell us what kind of player you think the NFL is going to be getting, that big time cornerback out there.
You're talking about Garrett Williams, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a stud. Hard worker, physical corner. He's fast. He's quick. Great ball skills. And I mean, the kid can do it all. But the thing I like about him and that he already has what we call act like a pro, be a pro at all times. He's the guy that's going to go into the weight room, do the extra stuff. When no one's looking, he's working. Every single day after practice, he's working on his T steps or his drop back steps, or whatever he is. You know, I'm not a corner, so I don't I'm not going to pretend like I know everything he's doing, but whenever I'm out there and I'm talking to somebody or working with one of the receivers, he's out there doing corner stuff. And that's consistently throughout his entire career at Syracuse. So hard worker. The class, we got him, we got Sean Tucker, another guy, Bergeron, one of our tackles from Canada, going to be a stud wherever he gets picked up. These are guys that are, unbelievable, and they've earned the right to get to this point, and I hope nothing but the best for them.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten a ton of buzz. A lot of people, I think Daniel Jeremiah even has him as his number one cornerback in this year's draft class. So he's definitely a big time prospect. A question I wanted to ask you: what bit of information do you try to impart to all of those young players on those teams? Is there like a certain bit of wisdom or information that you've uncovered in your years playing in the NFL that you feel like is important to impart to these young guys on their journey as they transition into the NFL?
Right. I think the number one thing is from my perspective, is being a professional athlete doesn't turn off. You don't clock in and clock out. Every single move and decision you make is either affecting your ability to perform on Sundays or whatever day you're performing. It's either affecting it negatively or positively. So what you want to do is you want to go into it understanding that it's a process and it's a grind, and you understand that, maybe I'm going to have to, I can't do this. I can't do this today. I can't do this right now because I have to, I got to go get a massage. I have to go to the gym. I have to run. I got to do some yoga. I got to do something else like that. It's a process, and the great ones, they're always working. They're always figuring out something to do. And it's just consistent. It's consistent in every sport. There are no days off. There's always something to be done. There's always work to be done. And there's no one that's going to be telling you to do it. You're on your own,
Yeah,
so
that's the big transition
like
there.
From high school to college.
100%.
Yeah.
You're your own business then.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and think about it, like from my perspective, being a college coach right now, if you're late to a meeting, if you're late to class, guess what I got to do? I got to call you. Hey, where are you at? What are you doing? Do I need to come pick you up and bring you? Those kind of things, right? Well, guess what? If you're late to a film session or something in the league, they're gonna just fine you. And then if it happens enough, if it just happens enough, you're gonna get cut. Like, that's simple as that. You know what I'm saying? You're just not gonna be there anymore. If you're hurt and you're not doing the stuff to get back on the field, and no one sees you, they're gonna just replace you and get somebody else. Simple as that. So it has to be all from within to understand, like, everything I want to do, everything I want to succeed, everything I want to accomplish, I have to do it. I have to initiate it. And that's the biggest thing you have to understand, I think, for the most part. The most important thing, at least.
Cody, this is you know what Ty Gurley said about that.
When you want to hoot with the Owls, you better soar with the Eagles. Exactly. And I think I want to say something.
With the Owls, you better soar with the Eagles. There is no excuse, but man, production, and you better be on it there. There. Go ahead, Cody.
My final question that I have for you, and thanks so much again, man. The chat room is loving this interview. They definitely appreciate, and we appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight. My final question is there a certain wide receiver in this draft? Like I said earlier, I'm really partial to Zay Flowers. I think that man, even though they primarily played him from the slot, I think he can be a legit X wide receiver in the NFL. Is there a certain player or a certain wide receiver that you feel has superstar potential in this year's draft?
Yeah. So being in the ACC, I play against Zay Flowers. I played against Josh Downs. I played against A.T. Perry. So those are three guys that I'm not going to necessarily say that those are my top three guys, but those are three guys that I know are going to be able to make a difference on Sundays.
Okay. And
Zay Flowers is definitely one of them, and I figured him out very early on in the process. My job is definitely to go in from a receiver perspective, from my coaching perspective. I'm going out and I'm breaking down the film and saying, what the defenses do for whatever team we're playing against that week. And Zay Flowers' film, because, obviously ACC teams play each other, so you're watching what plays work, and it's such a coincidence that when you're ever watching the highlight reel of the plays that are working against certain defenses, Zay Flowers is coming up consistently. And then you watch his film, and then you realize that this guy is dynamic.
His change of direction is unparalleled. Like he can stop on a damn dime and then go 100 miles an hour.
He's elite. And I was a huge fan of his, breaking down his film, like as an opponent. Like I'm breaking down his film, like, oh my, like I don't know what we're gonna do when we play this guy, because this guy is gonna go off. Like, so you talking about he's one of your favorite receivers. He's one of my favorite receivers. I was a fan of his since his sophomore year. We talked about A.T. Perry at Wake Forest. Big body, great body control, great hands, and just a playmaker, all-around playmaker, and he can get in and out of his breaks. He can run routes. He creates separation. I'm all about creating separation. And then when he comes down to that, you got Josh Downs in North Carolina, the same thing. So those are three big-time receivers in this draft. I know we got the Jackson Smith and Jigba at Ohio State. What's the guy?
Quentin Johnson, I think. Quentin something. The guy from
Quentin Johnson at TCU. Jalen Hyatt at Tennessee, I believe.
Tennessee.
Right.
Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison from USC.
Yeah, USC.
Everybody's so small in this class, though. It's kind of an undersized group.
Here we go. So my thing is, right, the league is transforming to where it's not necessarily about muscle. Size anymore.
Yes,
it's
I
not
agree.
about being the biggest guy on the field. It's about your ability to get open and catch passes. Mm-hmm. Can you consistently get open and catch passes? So you don't have to be 6'3" to be able to do that. You don't have to be. So, like, that's why Zay Flowers, to me, like, if you draft him, you're getting a guy that's going to play for you on Sunday, like day one. Like,
is he like a Waddle? Is he kind of like Waddle, maybe? Or
I would say he's a little bit more polished than Waddle. Waddle's, he's good. I get it, but this kid he's polished. He's a polished route runner, and he's explosive.
Do you have a comparison?
You got a comp, like a comp?
Huh? Steve Smith?
Oh, how about that one?
Wow. You're trading up and getting him.
You're saying ceiling Steve Smith, right?
I think he would agree. I think
ceiling Steve Smith, right?
If someone were to ask Steve Smith, like, who do you think compares to your game the most? He would say Flowers.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve has been very glowing of Zay Flowers, man. And I've even heard Antonio Brown as another comparison, just because similar body size, but man, the footwork is just shifty, nasty. Sneaky. Yeah. His ability to make separation on his own. I echo that sentiment 1,000%, David.
Think about what that does for your team when you have a receiver that can consistently beat whoever's in front of him. What does that mean you have to do if you're a game planner?
If I'm
a defensive coordinator and I know that you're going to beat my guy every single time, that means I got to give help. That means that's one extra person that you're taking away from something else. You're taking one extra person away from the box in the run fit. You're taking one person away from coverage from somebody else. And now you can scheme up all these other things over here because now he's getting so much, attention over here. That's the name of the game. When you have a Justin Jefferson, when you have a Cooper Kupp, when you have these guys, the elite receivers, it changes the game for you as an offensive coordinator. It makes things so much easier. So that's the priority. That's the premium, is finding a guy that can do that at an elite level. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he has to be 6'3" to do it.
He seems like, what he sounds like, Cody? It sounds like he could be a Frank Reich type of player. Who was the guy that was in the Colts a couple of years ago? He's really T.Y. Hilton, and there was one other. I think it started with a P. I'm going to find his name. But it's like these guys are real important to what they can do, drawing attention away. So sometimes it's what you have to account for the player, even when they're not getting the ball, that then opens up things on the other side. Fantastic stuff. Last question, CK, around the horn, and we'll let Coach Geddes get on with his evening. He's been so generous with his time tonight.
Yeah, we've absolutely
milked
monopolized
it.
your evening.
I told him 15
Definitely
minutes when I
milked it.
reached out. I was like, oh, God, I lied.
I'm sitting here 15 minutes. We're 9, 10, 15.
No,
It's been a
15
really good
minutes.
conversation, man. I appreciate it for sure. I think we've been so complimentary of our additions and the potential for other wide receivers. We've left a couple of big question marks on the field, or on I guess on the table, and that is Terrace Marshall Jr. and Shi Smith. When you see the receiving core the Panthers have, if you draft a guy like Zay Flowers, it's leaving a guy like TMJ off of the first the first team, right? He's not going to be starting for the team on a regular occurrence unless something were to happen to Thielen or DJ Chark. So what are your opinions on what you've seen? I know you probably haven't been able to do a deep dive into TMJ or Shi Smith for that matter, but those are two promising young draft picks that we've still got on rookie contracts. What are your thoughts on those guys?
I think Terrace Marshall, even back in LSU, we all remember the amazing year that they had with Justin Jefferson and Chase.
Yes, sir.
Well, he's right there along with those two. If you all recall, he's up there making big time play after big time play after big time play. So this dude was amazing. And I think that he's coming into his own because he wasn't really asked to do much. And then he wasn't really given the role to necessarily show what he's fully able to do. So I think he has all the potential in the world. And I think he's going to have an opportunity to show that and showcase that. And there's definitely always, like we talked about, the premium and the priority of being able to create separation. Well, there will always be a space in the NFL for big receivers that can just use their size to their advantage, right? But he's athletic and he's fast and he can do it all. So I really do believe that he is trending up in the right way. I'm not gonna. Who's the other guy you said?
Shi Smith.
So I'm not too sure about him, so I don't want to lie and say like, oh yeah, watch his film. I haven't.
Right.
But
Paris Campbell was the guy. Paris Campbell. That's the guy.
With the Colts.
Yeah, he was really important to Reich's scheme. And I wonder if that, they're always talking about trying to replicate that. I do. Because I lie. I'll keep you here as long as I'll milk. I'm getting the most squeeze out of the most juice from the squeeze.
Right.
All right. So the thing that blew me away when I went to training camp for the first time and I'm watching it is I hear people talking about, the reps, the practice, the reps, the practice, the reps. And you think, when I think of practice, I think of doing something like 100 times over and over again. What blew me away is when I went to my first training camp and it's like, you got one it's like we just installed that in the offense. Moving on. It's like one go and that's it. And it's like next thing. Like I in my mind am sitting here going, that's not practice, dude. That's just me trying it the first time. What is that like one of the big jumps from the college to the pros? Is that just like it's like, hey, you're either keeping up with it or you're falling behind.
Well, think about this. You were talking about stress earlier on in the show, right? So think about this for a second. From my perspective, because, 6th-round draft pick, I'm not promised anything, right? So my experience in training camp to go along with what you're saying was, but I'm not getting any of those reps until the very end. And if I do get a rep, it's one or two.
Yeah.
The first couple of practices. And understanding while that's happening, they're still cutting people who are not getting reps. So you got to earn everything you eat. You know what I'm saying? That includes practice reps. We take it for granted. Just like, oh man, I don't feel like practicing today. Just having the opportunity to go out there and practice, get a rep and practice. Oh my God, he's going to throw me the ball in 7-on-7. So he's going to throw me a pass in practice is amazing. Like that's one of the biggest trends. Like you talk about the things that are totally different from college to the NFL. Like you take all that stuff for granted in college because, oh man, I'm a senior. I've been doing this for 4 years. Oh, we got spring ball. Oh, we got camp. I just want the season to get here. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're used to like practicing whenever and getting all the reps and all of it. It's totally different. Now you have a complete whole roster of guys. You're talking about a stacked receiver room. Like, guess what? Like, they're not all going to get the same amount of reps. Like,
So
yeah, the bubble is already on the existence before you even take your reps. That's the other thing
100%.
that's crazy. When you look at the size of the roster being 90 to start and the cuts, they really probably know the top 63 people that they're like, or in their mind, they probably have an idea. You know, it's got to be really hard to climb. We've had one of my favorite players in the NFL of all time. I love him, Damiere Byrd, an undrafted rookie free agent wide receiver who weighs 170 pounds soaking wet. Chirp, chirp. He's come on the podcast twice. What I try to tell people, or at least because I know we pick winners and losers. We pick favorites, and he's a favorite of mine because he's been on the show and, you know, just a lot when we were just getting started. And but to me, what's been so amazing is the fact that he has made it on 4 different teams. And he's a guy that you expect the staff probably thinks is going to get cut every time at the beginning we walk in there. And somehow he finds a way to pierce through all of that. And that's just a crazy it's got to be so hard, right? Because, I mean, they know they're only bringing 6 receivers in. There's 12 receivers on the in camp.
Right.
There's 6 that are going to get cut. We know that. And if you're number 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, good Lord, every moment counts. This was tremendous, Coach Geddes. You know what? I will one day bug you in the future, but I could promise you, I'm doing this long enough. I won't go back to the well too early. But man,
I enjoyed this. This is fun. Any chance I get to talk football, count me in. I'm a lifer, so I love this.
Love it.
This has been fantastic.
All right. One of us.
One of us.
I love it.
All right, man. Can you just give out if you would like, you can give out your Twitter handle, because I know, look, as we have over 220 people watching right now, we'll have people that will be tuning in over the next few days that are going to be excited about this. And this is the podcast for people that follow the Carolina Panthers to like a ridiculous level where it's like, wait a minute, you guys. This is a little unhealthy almost. But they eat up this kind of stuff, man. And so if you could let them know, maybe they'll check you out, or at least, man, we just thank you again.
Thank you so much. I honestly don't even know.
It's at Coach Geddes. It's at Coach Geddes.
Okay, is that it? Yeah, that's what it is. I literally just have it just for coaching purposes. I have no idea.
I figured, I was like, he's got his. I was like, man, I'm gonna sneak in here. I was like, I know this is in case a damn student has to message him.
Oh man, it's all good. You just deal with that kind of stuff. It comes with the territory, but it's all good. And I enjoyed this. This is awesome. This is amazing. And God bless and good luck with everything going forward, and good luck to the Panthers on their draft process, because that's a hell of a decision.
That is the truth. David. Thank you so much. I'm a Coke guy. I'm a Coca-Cola guy. All right, man. Have a great night, Coach Geddes.
All right, good night.
Holy cow, that was fantastic.